Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bedpost Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Erin Pym. Here at the podcast, I bring performers and presenters from my stage show that I run here in Toronto called Bedpost and beyond into the studio to indulge me in a more in-depth conversation about sex and sexuality. And today we have some very special guests. It's a threesome, everybody. The producers, the owners, the creators of Pretty Munny Productions. We have Spencer Munny in the house and Pretty Riikkii.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, thanks
How
for
you
having
doing?
us. Good.
Really good. Yeah. Thank you for having us here.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? This is my favorite. Spencer, I had the opportunity of performing alongside you at a Bedpost recently.
Yes. That was really fun.
I love your stuff. I saw you perform maybe a couple weeks previous to that at Oasis.
Yeah. Oasis is one of my regular gigs. I love it there.
That's amazing. Yeah. You did like some gender bendy, BOPO, body positivity type, damn the man.
Oh, fuck yeah. I did.
Numbers.
Crush the system, my system piece. Yeah. I crush it between
Literally
my thighs.
crush the system.
Yeah. It's one of my best pieces, I think, that I've come up with this year. So
I agree. I fucking loved it. I was like, okay, I made the right decision.
Yeah.
in getting you at Bedpost.
Yeah, no. Bedpost was a really fun experience and really accepting and warm. It was even the people who were there who didn't know me there was no awkward questions. It was just like, thank you for performing. Like, where can I see you next? And I'm actually friends now with Lola, one of the comedians. So
yay, that's amazing.
That's great. Yeah, good time.
Oh, wicked. Because, you saying people that didn't know you and stuff like that, no awkward questions.
No.
Let's lay it up on the table. What are we here to talk about today?
Well, I mean, mostly trans people in general. Like,
trans stuff.
Yeah, the two of us being our companies, like trans owned and operated, it's pretty up there on our list of things.
Yeah, it is. It's actually pretty great.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
we lucked out, both of us coming into each other's lives and like
how'd
being
y'all meet?
trans too. So there's like another thing that kind of gives us
That
connection.
that connection.
So me and Spencer, I started performing at Cruising Tangos and Zippers back in the day, and then Spencer
Zippers,
came.
R.I.P.
Spencer came into the crowd with their little punk rock hair and their like DC shoes. I tell everybody this story, like literally, like
It was my boyfriend's
he was
attire.
a skater boy.
Yeah, I
you
was
know?
a skater boy.
And then we weren't really friends actually.
No, just like passing performer acquaintances. And like
Yeah.
back then people were all clicked up. So like we knew of each other and we saw each other perform, but it wasn't really like a really intense friendship until
I think it
years
was also
later.
like we would walk by each other and be like, hey, and then under our breath we'd be like, fucking asshole.
What a dick.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Seriously, I don't know.
'cause,
We
like,
just,
I'm
different crowds, right?
Yeah.
So,
And Ricky's got a really tough guy motif and like that always throws me off, and I'm really like really bubbly, which can be like perceived as like super fake, and Ricky hates fake people, so he was like, what a fake ass bitch. Where I'm like, I'm not fake, I'm just naturally like
It's
that.
true.
Hi.
But I'd also like to note I'm a really good judge of character.
Yeah.
So
He is, but you came around. I'm cool now. We
I
cool
did,
now.
yeah.
We cool now.
And then I used to work at Buddies and Bad Times Theater. I was the security there, so I reached out to Patricia Wilson, the bar manager, and I was telling her that I would love to get back into performing, and I wanted to start a show. So I had the idea of starting a show more like variety. Also with drag kings, but it was more like variety just to provide space for everybody and not just a specific genre of performances or anything like that. And then I think Patricia, when Spencer was doing Yes Men, they had a show there, and then Patricia went up to Spencer and was like, Ricky wants to start a show. You guys should start a show together. And then that's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah.
And then after Pride of 2016, we reached out to each other. And
I left the city for a little bit just to do some like personal work on myself, and my niece was born, so I kind of was like, oh, strap my arms behind my back, I'm gone. So I got to spend like the first little bit of her life with her. But when we all arranged it, I was coming back to the city, like I was moving back, so it was kind of perfect timing, because this job definitely we both need to be here. It's just there's so much PR work and coordination, and you'd be in and out of the city every other day, which Ricky is. Like Ricky lives pretty much off the 401, so like it's a lot.
Yeah. And then we ended up meeting, we tell this story all the time, we ended up meeting in a Chipotle. So I showed up, like Spencer was kind of expecting me like to be so unprepared, because like I've never produced or even hosted. And when I would host at Zippers, I'd literally go on stage and be like, okay, don't wear leather jackets. Anyways, like I was so uncomfortable, right?
Yeah,
Also
all the
like
time.
socially I'm a little uncomfortable depending on the situation, who I'm with and stuff. So it was always like that pressure of like, I need to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And like you're working with people who are literally like comedians in their own. So it's like, how do I do that? So, right.
But we were learning together, because I was I'm a producer for many years, but I was a Yes Men producer, which is very different because it's all theatrical. So everything's very choreographed.
And it's a group too,
and it's a group working together. And it just so happened that the show Patricia saw and asked me was the one I was producing. So Yes Men used to take turns. Yeah. So that was my first time like doing my very own show. And I guess she just liked the way I ran it, and everything was on time and scheduled, which like we're pretty notorious for being overly prepared, because Pretty Ricky's always prepared. Like he walked into that Chipotle and he was like, "Here's our plan." I was like,
"Here's
perfect.
our package. I already drew out
Let's
our logo.
do it."
What do you feel
Having
about
never
this?
done it before.
Like,
No.
I was just like,
bam,
here it is. This is
yeah.
what I would like.
Born this way.
And it actually worked out really good.
Yeah.
And then we just figured out the dynamics of Kings and Classics, and we started about a year and a few months ago now. We just had our 1 year anniversary of Kings and Classics in January.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So,
Thank
it was a
you.
pretty big deal. It was an epic show.
Oh,
the
it
crowd
was incredible.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're so thankful for all the
Oh
people
God,
that
yeah. If we didn't have
come,
our
so.
community who like didn't come and support queer art in its in its truest form, where our shows, like, you can be whoever you want to be, you can portray whoever you want to portray on stage. There's no rules, and like other than like, don't be a racist, misogynistic piece of shit.
Don't be a
there are
dick.
some rules. Don't
That's-
be sex
that's it.
negative.
Yeah.
But
or,
like other than that, you don't have to like perform gender in a certain way.
You don't need to wear a beard.
You don't need to wear a
need
beard or pack. You could do a
bind.
poem.
Yeah.
You could just talk. You could just do a spiel about your day, like whatever you really want to do. And I think that really
I feel
has
like
brought it
even
together.
if somebody came up to us and was like, "Can I just like cry on stage?" We'd be
Like,
like,
you'd
probably be
yeah,
like,
"Yes,
fucking
of
right.
course.
How can we
Can
support
we
you in
hug
that?
you after?
Yeah.
Like, do you want us to get
What do you need?
something?
Just tell me
Like,
what
Do you
you
want
want
us to sit on
so-
pillows near your feet so
Yeah.
you're like grounded? You know, like
Yeah.
we're fine with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're pretty.
So the community, Toronto community, is really important to you.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No,
And
we
it's
do it for
like,
them. Yeah.
Even the past few months, like our crowd has been huge. So it's like, and it's so diverse. Like,
Yeah.
it's so diverse. There's like
There's like
people
at first we
would
just had
never
like
expect to.
No.
We have like older human beings that are like literally we go from like 19 to like 65.
Yeah.
Maybe
Wow.
even older. Like
Yeah.
one of our performers, their mom actually just donated money to Pretty Money Productions.
Yeah, for our merch.
And she's gonna come to like all the
Wow.
shows and stuff.
And she brings her mother and father who are like in their 80s to watch
Yeah.
drag, and they're like, that's really good hosting, and both of us are like, careers are done, we can go home.
Seriously,
Retiring,
so, yeah.
done. That person liked me, y'all can go.
Yeah.
Like,
My mom finally got to see a bedpost for the
Oh,
first
that's right.
time.
Yeah,
Ricky
last
was
month.
there.
Yeah.
how'd
How'd
she
she
like
like
it?
it?
Oh, she loved it. Honestly, she's my biggest fan. Like you're saying about like the moms coming and stuff like that. She'll listen to every podcast I do. She'll watch every
That's
YouTube
amazing.
video. She'll like, even if it's like, it's hilarious. It's like a mostly nude selfie, and she'll just be like, beautiful.
It's so amazing.
She just is the loveliest, most positive, sex positive person.
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, my mom was too. Like, sex was never a mystery when I was growing up. It was always talked about. Like, from the minute I was, 9 years old, it was like, this is what it is. And the first time I got my period, she threw me a party, and there was a
Period
cake.
party?
Yeah, a period party. And like, when I first had sex, she was like, "Oh my God, okay," and like showed me all the sizes of condoms and was like, "Don't use that. You're dating 14-year-old
See,
boys.
mine
They don't
was
need
totally
those condoms."
opposite.
Really,
See,
eh?
like I grew up and I knew what it was, but I found out about periods like through my friends and
Oh,
stuff
really?
like that. Yeah.
Oh.
So like the only one who really made it a big deal was my aunt, and she's like freaking out,
Auntie
and
Pam.
I'm like, oh my God, you're making me uncomfortable. I
Our
don't even
biggest
know
fan.
what's happening to my body right now.
Yeah.
So
Pretty Money Productions' biggest fan is Auntie Pam,
yeah,
who
it's
just
true.
she
It's
just
so, she's the best.
loves us and
She's
like
always at our shows.
Yeah.
She's always like, she'll text me, be like, so do I get my table tonight?
always.
I'm like, only if
Her
somebody
table.
else
Her
doesn't
table.
actually need it.
yeah,
then yes.
like we have
It's her table. We
It's her
have like
table.
reserved for Auntie Pam. Like,
yeah.
She
We have
has
bought-
a sign.
We have
Yeah, it's
accessibility
true.
seating for anybody
Yeah.
who comes to the show who needs to sit. Even if there's not a visible, if you just can't stand for 3 hours, like we get
we'll
that.
give you a chair.
So we'll give you a
Yeah.
chair, no problem. But like, yeah, Auntie Pam's seat is
Always.
right over there.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
my cousin ended up coming. Her son comes all the time, but one of my other cousins came.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she actually won because we give a free binder away at every show.
Mhm.
Nice.
We also provide binders if anybody ever needs
Yeah.
them. They just need to reach out to us. But my cousin's like, I'm gonna donate this binder. So like my family like donated the binder
Yeah.
back, and then I actually posted on a Toronto trans page on Facebook,
Mhm.
and I had this like amazing little young queer reach out asking like what size it was, and I was like, literally whatever
Whatever
size
size
you
you
want.
need.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
Like I'll connect you.
Yeah.
So thanks to our show and like
Binders
family
out.
and our community, this lovely queer human
Gets a
received
brand
a
new
brand new
binder.
binder. Yeah,
That's
so,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Talking about like your families and stuff like that, can you tell me each of your personal experiences growing up with not being gender conforming?
I'm actually a late bloomer, so
Yeah.
I grew up like a pretty girl with pretty pink things who
Really?
liked, like I was like, I'm like, I still love makeup. And like, that's why I think when I transition, like I'm trans non-binary, so I just don't really identify with a gender. I'm very comfortable in all the 1900 roles that exist out there.
Yep.
Um,
In your pronouns, you'll use they.
yeah,
mostly?
pronouns are they them, and
Yep.
like, you know, I can, if I'm heat and drag, that's not that big of a deal. But again, like I've thought about the surgeries and stuff and the hormones, and it's just not who I am. I really want to be like a pregnant drag king who like feeds my babies from my trans tit, like right on stage,
A hot
like
pregnant drag
pop,
king.
pop, pop,
stage.
like
On stage.
yeah, like oh my kid's hungry, it's Pride, y'all, like that's it.
Yes.
You'll get the biggest cheers just for that.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
your performance.
I'll be like,
I'm ready to go on
"And
stage.
here we
Baby's
are.
hungry.
Baby's hungry. Yeah, sorry, my child comes first. But yeah, I think my parents are, for the most part, pretty good about it. My mom's wonderful and just like loves me and wants me to be there for Christmas. And
Great.
you know, my siblings, yeah, they're like, yeah, we know you're weird. Like, it's
Yeah,
fine.
we knew.
Yeah,
We
and
know we knew.
and like built-in kind of pronouns. My niece calls me TT, which was my legal name. My sister couldn't say it, so they always called me TT growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just who I am. There's no really aunt connotation
You're TT.
to that. Yeah, and my dad, you know,
He'll get there.
he's there. Yeah, he's over there. But he does actually supply a lot of Pretty Money's things. He
Really?
sponsors us for hotels, and he makes our banners
Yeah, he helps
and
a lot.
donates them. So like,
He's pretty great.
yeah, he's great. He's like, I don't get it, but I love you. And like, he printed out our first logo and put it in his office and was like, this is my kid's company. And you know,
Hey, that's something.
yeah.
That's
So
something. Do you think dads of that generation have a harder time getting
Maybe,
their head around it?
but like Pretty Ricky's dad is the coolest dad
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
planet.
tell me. Yeah.
So like same thing. I've only been transitioning medically for 8 months, 8.5 months.
and by that
maybe.
you mean, just for people who have no idea, by that what do you mean?
So medical transition is like I've started hormones. So
Yep.
I started testosterone therapy, and I had like my top surgery done.
Yep.
So that's what a medical transition is.
Yeah.
It doesn't define if you're trans or not. It's just like for your personal what you would like.
Right, like, I'm
personally. So
Socially
like
transitioning.
Spencer was just saying that they're not going through a medical transition because they're comfortable with the way they are. So me growing up, it was kind of the same thing. I was just this like pretty little girl with like my long curly hair and my big blue eyes. And I never
Ricky's eyes, man.
Famous.
thanks, Dad. I never really
Dad's hot.
came out. Like,
His dad's
he's a handsome guy. It's fine.
a very
I'm used
hot
to
dad.
it. Grew up all my life with people telling me that. So yeah, I never really officially came out. Like, I wasn't like I'm gay or like I'm a lesbian or I'm queer. It was just kind of like I started hanging out at girls' house, and then I would like have this one specific girl who would always come and hang out and like stay over. Obviously, it was my girlfriend.
Looking back.
Yeah, so,
that was
like,
totally your girlfriend.
Seriously though, and my mom always used to take me to gay pride when I was younger.
Okay.
So, because she
So-
has like some queer friends and stuff, so I was very fortunate to be able to grow up kind of in that environment, and so. But my dad, he was always a little bit uncomfortable, like back in the day, because he's from Malta, so he's like Roman Catholic, and it's just a little, it's a little hard to kind of understand. But like as the years go on, he like started to realize like I didn't change as a person.
Yeah, I was just going to
and,
say that. Nothing's changed.
Exactly.
You're
so
you.
exactly. So he was telling me that one day he went to my family's for dinner. His family's like my aunt and stuff, and one of my cousins was like, "So how do you feel about Riikkii being gay?" And he's like, "Well, she's always going to be my little girl." You know, like this was before my transition. So like I think that was the moment of him realizing that he needs to support me so people understand and can support me as well, because it doesn't change who you are as a person.
Yeah,
Gay,
like, he
straight,
needs to be the example.
Exactly.
for-
Yeah, so my hardest coming out story was my transition, like my
Yeah.
medical
Yes.
transition. So I went to my mom's and I was sitting there for like 5 hours being like, so, and then somebody would bring something out and I'm like, so.
Is that thing like that dusty over there?
You know,
I gotta
yeah,
go
and
organize
then-
Ricky's
that.
mom is like cutthroat, like a no
She's-
fucks lady.
yeah.
Like she's
Yeah.
like one time he was Snapchatting me and he was making faces and she's like, "Are you even listening?" And he's like, "I'm listening." This like pure fear
She's
on
a
his
badass.
face.
She's
Yeah,
such a badass.
She's like
Yeah.
commanding force.
Yeah, that's where I get it from. I'm very like, I'm gonna tell you the truth if it hurts your feelings or not, because I'd rather tell you now. But yeah, and then seriously,
I love
no,
her.
it's true.
Yeah.
She's a little scary, but
I'm
great.
scared of her. I'm always like, hello, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am. Yeah.
And then when my dad, when I was telling him, he actually went away to Malta for 3 weeks to visit his family and stuff like that. So when he came back, there was like a significant difference in my voice. And he's like, what's wrong with your voice? I'm like, nothing. It's just my voice. Like, this is how it is now, you know? And then it was actually on National Coming Out Day that it coincidentally fell on when he came back. And then I was just sitting there and I told him, and literally one of his only questions was, are you happy?
Wow.
And then
what a great question.
no, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And
like
then
weird
he's
questions.
He's like, is this why you haven't been so sad lately? And is this why you haven't been so angry lately? Because I suffered a lot with mental health, like pre-transition, like really bad. And so the fact that he noticed my mental health has improved and he didn't doubt me or question me in a, are you sure? It was, are you happy? Is this why you're happier? Like, I can tell kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Because what do you feel like from even friends' stories and stuff like that are common things that parents
Their
will
family
say?
will kind of disown them.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of
Just
trans
rejection?
people aren't lucky like that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very like vigilant on who I'm telling my stories around and how I'm telling my stories. Like, I choose my words very wisely because I don't want somebody to feel like the way I have it is
the way to have it.
is the way to have it, and I don't want somebody to think my story is trumping their story or like anything like that.
Or
Because,
that
like,
you didn't also have fears and, you know, go through a hard time with your inner struggle. Like, you know, there's no perfect trans story. And like everybody, even if you have like a celebration, there's still a lot of self-doubt and fear that goes into it. And like most parents blame themselves. There's like, I didn't, you know, give you the gender that you needed. And it's like, that's not how that works. You know, like
Not a thing you can
you
control.
did not have that choice, you know? And I also think like transness is who we are. Like if I was born a boy, I would feel the same way. I would feel like assigned male at birth. Like I would feel the exact same way. I would still be non-binary. And I think being trans is really special and important because you have this different brain that you grow up with and kind of how you see the world. So even when
you kind of see like both sides of like
because like I'm non-binary, but I was raised a woman, so I was treated a lot like a woman. I've experienced a lot of women's troubles and issues, and I still have a cervix, and I still menstruate, and I still want to grow children. So there's just a difference in experience of like how you're treated as you're growing up. So